Whether you like it or not, our old Bible is where we get a lot of our popular sayings. It just is. But they'll continue to ridicule us over it, and they'll pick on words like unicorn. Now, Numbers 23:22 says, God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn. Well, what is a unicorn? Now, when people hear the word unicorn, they usually imagine this make-believe critter. Now, I don't know how make-believe it is. I don't see any of these running around today. But if such a creature did exist at one time, I guess it would be interesting. But regardless, I don't think the Bible was describing this at all. I don't know where we came up with this imagery of what a unicorn is, but that's not what a unicorn should be. The book of Job says, will the unicorn be willing to serve thee, or abide by thy crib? Canst thou bind a unicorn with his band in the furrow? Now, if you're going to blacken out a lot of these words just so the basic words show forth, if I can use a little King James English on you, here you see the words you need to see, and basically it's describing an animal that would kind of be very hard to tame, be hard to lead around by a rope, or get it to do anything. It'd be very, very, very unruly. I'm getting a message here on my screen. There we go. Now this sounds like a creature that would be difficult to harness and tame. This guy right here looks like he'd be very easy to tame. I don't think we'd have any trouble at all getting a saddle on this kind of creature. This is not the animal that's being described in the Bible. So what do I think the text is referring to? Well, it could be any number of singular horned animals, but I kind of speculate it would be something like this. Now, I'm going to try to pronounce this. Elasmotherium sibiricum, something like that. But whatever it is, just by looking at it, I'd say this is going to be a little difficult to tame or, get it to do tricks or put a saddle on this or lead it around or make it pull a cart. Now, I could also see where some people might mistake this creature for a horse kind of animal, especially from a distance. And this is kind of the description we get coming out of China. Their back kind of resembles something like a zebra. So maybe you could kind of figure out where someone thought this thing was a horse-like creature at one time. I don't know. Or it could be this guy. Who knows? But today, here's the Indian rhino. It's a unicorn. They got one big horn. Today, there's about 3,000 of them. They're alive and well. And their technical name is Rhinoceros Unicornis. Here's the Asian one-horned rhinoceros. Well, that's funny. Rhinoceros Unicornis, huh? Well, in Isaiah 34, and the unicorns makes another appearance here in the Bible in the marginal note of the King James. And there are very few marginal notes. That was the whole idea. Just give us a good basic text and don't bother us with what you think certain things are with study notes. But from time to time they would make a marginal note. And here's mine. Here's my 1611 King James edition. And off to the side in a marginal note is rhinoceros concerning the word unicorn. Well, it could very well be this critter right here, or maybe a great-great-great-great-granddaddy type of this kind of creature, a variation of this. I don't know. But I think there's a lot of unicorns alive today. A unicorn is basically just an animal with a horn. You don't have to make believe one silly My Little Pony type creature. Here's the woolly rhinoceros. Not exactly a good candidate because it has more than one horn, but lots of creatures like this were running around that were probably very large and very hard to tame. Or it could be this guy. Now, I have a note on this guy. It comes from the medieval traveler named Ibn Fadlan. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Here's his note. I'm going to try to read it fast. The animal is smaller than a camel, but taller than a bull. Its head is the head of a ram, and its tail is a bull's tail. Its body is that of a mule, and its hooves are like those of a bull. In the middle of its head it has a horn, thick and round, and as the horn goes higher, it narrows to an end, until it is like a spearhead. Some of these horns grow to 3 or 5 ells, depending on the size of the animal. It thrives on the leaves of trees, which are excellent with greenery. Whenever it sees a rider, it approaches, and if the rider has a fast horse, the horse tries to escape by running fast. And if the beast overtakes them, it picks the rider out of the saddle with its horn and tosses him in the air and meets him with the point of the horn and continues doing so until the rider dies. But it will not harm or hurt the horse in any way or manner. And then he goes on to describe how they track this thing down, usually with a lot of arrows, poisoned arrows, and eventually they can get enough in them to kill it. But there's no reason for anyone to ridicule our Bible over the use of this word. If they just do a little research, they'll find out these guys are still alive, or their great-great-great-grandchildren. You don't have to think that a unicorn is something, silly like this. The unicorns are alive and well. Now, the modern translations, they're a little embarrassed by the word unicorn, so they'll translate it to wild oxen or something like that. But I kind of think we would be able to tame a lot of these oxes and oxen, if you will. Sorry for the plural version of ox, but they've got more than one horn. I don't think they really qualify. Psalm 92, but my horn, singular, shalt thou exalt like the horn of a unicorn. So I think it's got to be a one-horned animal. And I kind of think it's going to be something like this. I think this kind of critter would give you trouble. And just as the book of Job says, would you want this thing next to your baby's crib? No, I wouldn't. So that's what I think it is. Your mileage may vary, of course.